All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am no one, and in today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the Lyneth drama that has started to percolate. It has started to simmer in this last weekend, and I gotta say, it's about damn time. It is about time we have some interesting political intrigue on the Lyneth server. We've been falling behind. Let's be honest about where we're at. Resna has had pre-Alpha 2 beef. In the Alpha 1 or in the pre-Alpha 2 stage, there were multiple guilds with multiple different players fighting, and they all decided to go to Resna to throw hands. And that culminated in a duping bug where all these guilds were competing with one another, and a lot of players on these different guilds, they had their characters wiped because they were exploiting an Alpha 2. Very, very interesting drama and dynamics. Recently, on Vyra, we had a bunch of guild members from Ethereum go over to Vyra to participate in a dueling tournament. There will be a dueling tournament there in a couple weeks, if I remember correctly, and players went over there to level up to 25 to participate in it. Well, they were grinding and leveling in this specific area that at one point was an exploit and had recently gotten fixed, and they were grinding in that area. And the server saw them grinding in that area and thought that the exploit still existed and thought that these guild members were exploiting on their server. And so they didn't want that to happen. And a lot of the big guilds over there took it upon themselves like, hey, we will not allow this on Vyra. We will not allow exploiting. We will not allow duping. We are going to go to war with this cheating guild. Now, it turns out it was all a misunderstanding. Like I said, they went to war over a misunderstanding, which happens. Of course, it's wars. That's what's going to happen. But now this has created an interesting situation to where apparently Ethereum is going over to Vyra next patch. Well, during phase 2, they're going to go over to Vyra and resolve these things diplomatically with swords and spells. And yeah, it's pretty freaking cool. And meanwhile, Lyneth has just been chugging along. We've been chugging along. More or less, the vast majority of the server works together. Narc did a video a few weeks ago talking about how all the mayors are working together to get things accomplished.
I am the mayor of the Winstead node on the Lyneth server, and our server has a very engaged Discord, which we can communicate with each other on both a mayoral and guild level. All guild leaders are in easy contact, all 5 mayors are in easy contact, and information can be spread to citizens extremely quickly. This has helped the server progress the furthest out of all 8 servers, as we now have all the gathering, processing, and crafting stations at apprentice level, allowing citizens on the entire server to fully engage in apprentice level artisan content.
Each server is different. They got different players, different player dynamics, and this one is choosing more to work together. And some of it is obviously by player decision, and some of it is by game design. And I wanted to talk about that and why the game design changing is going to change the cooperation going forward. So it's super interesting. And I want to talk to you guys a lot about it. I wanted to kind of pick things apart. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to nerd the fuck out on this video, guys. So let's dive into it. Now, before we talk about the juicy Lyneth drama, which I know that's what you guys want to hear about, let's talk a little bit about game dynamics and game interactions, because certain systems drive player behavior. And if you don't believe me, it's already happened. In the first couple of weeks of Alpha 2, if you were working with a group and you were at a point of interest fighting monsters and you died because you weren't good or your group wasn't good, or, you know, the sun got in your eyes or your hands were cold because it's cold outside, whatever the reason is, you died and you turned into an ash pile, well, people could come over and they would loot your ash pile.
Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy.
People would see that, they'd go, oh, free resources. I'm going to go take those. And you really couldn't fight back due to system mechanics. Corruption penalties are extremely harsh during phase 1 of Alpha 2. I've talked about it a lot. I'm going to briefly mention it again. They're so harsh that people aren't willing to go corrupted, because when you do go corrupted, you're risking gear. And some of this gear is very hard to acquire. And so if you go corrupted, you can have a chance of dropping 2 to 3 pieces of gear for each level. I've gone corrupted multiple times, and I've gotten up to stage 2 corruption multiple times due to glitches and bugs in the game. And when I died, I dropped 4 to 6 pieces of gear. That is hours, that is weekends worth of farming wasted because of a bug that existed in the game. So people don't really want to go corrupted under the current corruption systems. So when somebody loots your ash pile, At that point in time, you just let them have it. Sure, you could flag up and attempt to fight them and try and get it back, but if they don't want to fight, you can't do anything about it. They're just like, no, I stole your resources, I'm happy. If you want to kill me and go corrupted and now I take your resources and your gear, sure, we could do that, but you got to kill me first. And so it just left like this little tension spot, right, all over the place where people are like, man, he stole my ash pile. I'm gonna wait for this guy to die and I'm gonna steal his later. And Intrepid saw this and they changed how people interact with ash piles. So if you steal from somebody, now going forward, you now flag yourself as a combatant. So if somebody kills you, they're not risking corruption anymore. You are a willing combatant when you steal from another player's ash pile. And so what this has done is it has changed drastically how players are interacting with ash piles in the game. A game system has changed player behavior dramatically. Now this is a very small system. Looting an ash pile relative to Ashes of Creation is very minor in the grand scheme of things. And I want to highlight that as a point because there are a lot of very, very large systems coming online in Phase 2. Let's talk about them. Number one, currently in Phase 1, we have only one type of node. We have the economic node. And in the economic node, you appoint people democratically, which is a great system. But it benefits large guilds, it benefits content creators. Currently, we will have 2 content creators as mayor in Lyneth for the next couple of weeks. That's just the way it currently is. Large guilds also, you have more people voting you in, you're going to benefit from the style system. We don't have our scientific nodes online. We don't have our military nodes, which are decided by a trial by combat, where players that want to become mayor of a military node have to duke it out in an arena with their group versus other groups. That's a completely different system. Obviously, it still benefits large guilds, but it also benefits being good at PvP. It's a different system. It's a different mechanic. The current one vastly just helps more people, right? That's just the way it functions. And currently we are on a server with the largest guild in all of Alpha 2. We have Pirate Software's guild, which has over 2,000 players. Now, if you've done the math, you don't have to be good at math to know that the server capacity for Alpha 2 is 3,000 players. And if all of their players are online, they have over half the players in the game. And that's what it feels like when you're playing on Lyneth. You go to a point of interest. You go to one dungeon, pirates are there. You go to one node, pirates are there. They're everywhere. It's kind of like playing Ashes of Creation with the Borg Collective, right? Like they're all a guild. They all have the same guidelines. They all follow the same set of rules. They all have, it's the same mindset.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships.
Which would be the same for any other guild. I'm not talking shit about Pirate Software or their guild or anything. Imagine your guild expanded out to 2,000 people. It would function the same way. Every guild with that many people would have the same style mindset because that's what the guild guidelines are. And theirs is no different in that regard. I have to also say, I have not had a single toxic, super negative reaction with Pirate Software's guild, which is impressive considering it is 2,000 people. I would expect a little bit of toxicity every once in a while. There are bad apples in every single guild. There are people that do things negatively, and I haven't really seen that from Pirates at all. I really haven't. We fight their caravans, we sack their caravans, they attack our caravans. We've had big wars. I have some footage in the background of one that happened this last weekend, big fights just outside of Halcyon. We fight them, they fight us, and things are pretty, like, we're there to fight. We're there to have fun, and it's a good time. And so all of my interactions with them have been good. I'm just trying to highlight, how big their guild is and how big this situation is, and like what the unique thing on Lyneth is, and that's Pirate Software's guild. We also have Narc over there. Narc is another big Ashes of Creation content creator. So we have 2 huge content creators. We have some smaller content creators like myself and like Nice Gaming also over there. And all of a sudden now it's like the streamer Discord server, which is not by design. It just kind of happened. And so it's been a very interesting dynamic. But these guilds benefit from the current system. Also, there are no node wars and no node sieges online. In a node siege, if you lose the siege, your node gets turned into rubble. Like it literally goes from whatever level it was down to 0 if you lose. And so that is a drastic consequence, way more serious than an ash pile that doesn't currently exist in Alpha 2. There are also no node wars. So if you go to war with a node, you can siphon off resources, you can siphon off experience, you can do these sorts of things if you win the node war. Once again, another more escalating system that is coming online in Phase 2. Also, there is currently no vassaling. You can't vassal other nodes. For those of you guys that don't know what vassaling is, basically, long story short, the node system is your village city system, and as you grow your node, you can expand your area into a metropolis. And as you grow and expand, you can envelope other nodes in your area and expand your influence. If you're better at leveling than other nodes, you take them under your wing, and now they operate under your rule. You are the parent node, you are the parent city, and essentially they're like a suburb, right? They work with your specific node by design because they've been better and they have now won. And so before that happens, some nodes will want to have a say in it, right? Like imagine yourself in a node and you feel like you're the mayor, you function better than other nodes, and now they're growing faster than you. You might want to do something about it. You might want to fight back. You might want to have a node war, and you might want to have a node siege. You might not want to be vassaled. That risk doesn't currently exist in phase 1. It will exist later on. And the systems online to have node wars and node sieges will also be going online as well. And so all these systems don't currently exist. And because they don't exist, it drives player behavior for players to want to work together more than they would if these systems were online. I like to look at players on a spectrum. And I don't mean it in a negative, derogatory way, where we're looking at it like this. On one end, on the right-hand side, you have kill-happy murder hobos that want to murder everybody in sight. PK, they're on the far right end of the spectrum of they just want to murder everybody. And on the left side, you have your builders and you have your pacifists, or you have your care bears, however you want to call it, where basically they want to build and they want to grow and they want to work together. Now, most of us lie somewhere in the middle. Some of us want to fight a little bit more than build, but we still want to build, right? Like most of us fall in the middle. The game design currently is a lot more Care Bear friendly than it ever will be, which means that wherever you are on this line, it doesn't matter where it is, due to game mechanics, we function more Care Bear friendly than we ever would. If you want to be PK happy, well, the corruption system is way too harsh to where you can't PK as much as you normally want to. It's deterring you from doing so by design. If you want to go to war a lot, well, there's no node wars, so you can't really node war. You can't node siege. Those types of systems aren't online, so it's a lot more build friendly currently in phase 1. And this is all by design. This is all, we're trying. This is a server stability test. This isn't a full game out test. And so I've had multiple discussions with, players in my guild, other people that have been watching the game, and they're like, yeah, this is a lot more friendly than I thought it would be. And yeah, it's due to in my opinion, it's due to the mechanics that don't currently exist. Like players, because they have no consequences, because the mayor of Winstead is equal to the mayor of Halcyon, who is equal to the mayor of Jova, there's no risk of them attacking them and taking their resources or sacking their node down to 0. Of course they're going to work together. They're going to work together more now under the current system than they will under any other system. And that's by the design of what phase 1 currently is. And so that's what we are currently seeing in Lyneth, is all of the mayors. You can go watch Narc's video from a few weeks ago, not months. A few weeks ago, he did a video talking about how all the mayors are working together, and one node is working on animal husbandry and another node is working on blacksmithing, and they're trying to get all these things online at the highest level possible so that players can interact with these systems and see what they're all about. And because there's no negative consequences, and because all these mayors are equal and they all get cool flying mounts, they're more willing to work together. That was the case 2 weeks ago. That is not the case so much anymore after the last mayoral election.
Hey, what up, boys? So this weekend was the first official election day for Ashes of Creation, and oh boy, was it one of the most intense gaming experiences I've had, period. But before we get into that, sit back, relax, and grab yourself a Kyopa Kyola, because not only was it the first official election day, but it was also the first ever attempted betrayal in Ashes of Creation's history, with another guild attempting to take our node behind our back with a premeditated team-up with pirate software, no less.
Narc has been the mayor of Winstead, and it turns out that Pirate Software and another guild wanted to take over a couple nodes. They wanted to get Halcyon mayor to Pirate Software so that he could showcase the systems. He can showcase what the mayoral systems are on his stream, which is understandable. If they're democratically, they have a 2,000 person guild. If they want that to happen and they want him to be the mayor, they have all the manpower to do so, and the most votes win. But they also wanted to get a mayor in Winstead, and they wanted to supplant Narc. Now, I want to look at it from both perspectives. If we look at it from the Narc perspective, it makes sense why he'd be a little upset. He's been working with these other mayors, right? You've been working with these other mayors for 3-4 weeks now. You've been working to get your stuff leveled up. You feel like you've been doing a good job. The players in Winstead, you've been working, coordinating, you've been accomplishing your goals, and now they want to supplant you. I'd feel a certain way about it too. I think you guys would also if you put yourself in Narc's shoes. If you look at it from Pirate Software's shoes, and you put yourself in his situation where you have a 2,000 person guild, you could take over 3 or 4 nodes if you wanted to with a democratically elected system. And if you have another guild working together with you, you absolutely could vote in 4 different mayors on the server, and it would be pretty easy to do so. Like, you could absolutely do these things, and people wouldn't bat an eye because that's just how many people you have. If you look at it from their situation, taking over 2 nodes relative to the amount of people that they have is being quite generous. It really is. Like, they really could do more, but they only wanted to take over 2. So if you look at it from both perspectives, it's understandable when you look at it from their points of view, like what's kind of happening there. Like, you have a little bit of strife where literally, like, one side's like, why are you trying to kick me out? And the other side's like, well, why not? Like, it's literally an election. The players get to decide. If the players vote somebody else in, that's what they're going to want to do. There's nothing serious here. There's no war. There's no beef. It's just an election, right? It's just an election. You're voting people in. But the videos still were made because of how Narc felt about how everything happened. He felt like he was betrayed. He felt like he was backstabbed with this overall situation. And that is the political drama that will happen on Ashes of Creation. It doesn't have to be real. It just has to be perceived. You as a player have your own perceptions as to what's happening, what's impacting you. This is a zero-sum game, meaning that if you're not the mayor of the node, somebody else is. You lose your flying mount. You lose things in game. And so when you look at this, when you look at a relatively minor thing like a mayoral election and the ripples that it has created, and you see down the line that there are node sieges and there are node wars and there's vassalling, players aren't going to be so inclined to want to work together with each other. Let's put ourselves in a thought experiment, right? Where you have Pirate Software and his 2,000 person guild. They're holed up in Halcyon. Halcyon's their node. Imagine that I am the mayor of Jova, right? Like, I'm the mayor of Jova. I'm right next door next to Halcyon. I'm running it. And you guys are all Narc. You are the mayor of Winstead, okay? Put yourself in that situation to where you're like, if I wanted to be a member of Halcyon, I would be a member of Halcyon. I would renounce my citizenship and I would go over there. Instead, I want to be the mayor and I want to run Winstead. I want to run it under how we want to run it. I don't want to run it under how Pirate Software wants to run it. And you are at a serious risk because 2/3 of the entire population is in Halcyon, and therefore they have more people than you. They have more manpower than you. They're going to level up their node faster because they just have more people. Like, logistically, you can't compete with that amount of people in that close of a way. You're going to have to create allies in order to combat that. If you want to keep Winstead under your rule and not be under somebody else's, you're going to have to fight back, right? You're going to have to utilize tools. If you don't want to be vassaled, you're going to have to utilize node wars and node sieges. They got 2,000 people. What are you going to do? Well, one thing you could do is you could reach out to me. You could go, hey, Jova, you're in the same situation we're in. Literally, if they advance, they're going to vassal both of us. We are going to be working under them. Do you want to be a part of Pirates, or do you want to have your own node and work independently? And I'm going to look at it and I'm going to be like, well, I want to work independently too. We should work together. We should be allies. Like, yeah, sure. 1 ape weak, 2 apes together, strong, right? And you work together and you attempt to fight it back. Maybe we still need more allies. Maybe we reach out to New Ayla and Miralith and we go, hey guys, if we all combine, that gives us 1,000 players on the 3,000 player server. We have 1,000 and they have 2,000. This is the best odds we are going to have. If we want to keep our nodes under our rule, we need to do something about this big node that is eventually going to envelope all of us. And this is a player choice. I'm not saying this in a bad way or a negative way or anything like that. All of these mayors could choose, like, I don't give a shit. Like, Pirate Software can be mayor of all of us. Who cares? Like, I still get to run this specific node. I still get to do this. I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. Or they can make the decision like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Like, we'll squash our beefs currently. Let's combat this big issue. Let's even it out and let's figure it out going from there. And so you could see 2 very extreme situations happening where either the entire server works together and they have a peaceful area like what it currently is, or with the new systems and with the new consequences, players could choose to fill out their own self-interests a bit more. And I think that's the route that a lot of servers will go. I think a lot of servers will say, hey, I run things better than they do. I want to do something. I want to say something about it. I don't want to just give up before I have to. I want to fight for this. And so I think you're going to see those interactions happen a bit more. And all of these things are a lot more serious than what a mayoral election is, right? Like a mayoral election relative to a node siege or a node war is very minor. Like imagine a situation where somebody sieges your node, right? Like you're the mayor of Winstead, another node sieges you. Even if you win the node and you don't get destroyed, how are your future interactions with that node going to go when they literally tried to destroy you? When they literally tried to destroy your node, destroy all of your progress? You're going to feel a certain way about it, right? So imagine a mayoral election, but literally for your entire node. Those types of ripples are turn into freaking tidal waves in this situation. And so when these systems go online, even if players are a little bit more build happy, even if they're a little bit more on the pacifist side, because of this threat, because of these things that could happen, it is going to change dynamics and it's going to shift people to want to fight to defend the things that they have, to want to do something about the interactions that are happening going forward. And we have seen a small microcosm of that with what has been going on with the mayoral elections this last weekend. And so what I'm trying to say to all of you guys is, yeah, currently there is a very large guild on Lyneth. There is a very large guild, and they are working together with other large guilds. And it kind of feels like it's one of those things where you're not getting unique interactions, right? You're not getting unique interactions with other guilds and other people. And some people want to leave for that reason. They want to feel like they're not. They feel like they're not getting the Ashes of Creation experience, right? Like imagine two servers where you have a bunch of 400 and 500 person guilds, right? Like just by sheer numbers, 4 500 person guilds make up one Pirate Software. And if you have 4 different guilds, you have 4 different guild guidelines. You have 4 different guild dynamics. The politics in smaller guilds on a server is a lot more interesting, right? Like you have different types of interactions. You have your little rat guilds that want to steal and rob from people, and you're like, oh, you little shitters, like I want to get you. You also have your big RP guilds. You have your big social guilds. You have your economic guilds. You have your warring guilds. You have so many different types of guilds that can fall under different envelopes and different political stances in other servers. Whereas this one, it's just Pirate Software and it's just their specific guild. It's not bad. It's not better or worse. It's different. It's different, and some players want different. And I would contend that this is going to be what a lot of servers deal with at any point in time. It doesn't matter, like let's remove the actual Pirates Guild name from what is going on, because recently our guild has been approached by a few guilds to want to go to a different server. And their thoughts are, hey, you know, why don't we don't like pirates. We don't want to be under pirates rule. We don't want to deal with pirates holding like half the server. How about us 4 guilds work together? How about the 4 or 5 of us work together and all of our guilds go over to this other server and we take over 2 or 3 nodes, which is kind of funny and hypocritical at the same time, right? Like you don't like what Pirates is doing, but you want to go to another server to be Pirates, right? And that's the point that I want to make here is, whether or not you fall under the actual Pirates umbrella, a lot of guilds function this way. A lot of guilds are going to want to work together to build things. And whether you're 2,000 people all under the same guidelines and guild and following, or you're 4 or 5 different 400 or 500 person guilds all working together to do the same thing, you're still functionally doing the same thing, right? You're still functionally doing these things, and it's up to the players to decide what they want to do. The players can choose to do these things, or they could choose to fight against it. And so what I would say is it doesn't matter what server you're on. It doesn't matter if you're on the Lyneth server with actual pirates. It doesn't matter if you're on Resna with all the pre-Alpha 2 beef. It doesn't matter if you're on the role-playing server on Vyra. These are all Alpha 2 experiences, and they all have their unique things. When you look at the interactions with what recently happened on Vyra, where the entire server went to war with one guild, how is that really functionally different than what Pirate Software's guild could do to any guild on Lyneth? How is that really functionally different? Like the guilds over there took it upon themselves to police what they perceived as cheating and exploiting, and they wanted to do something about it. That's all the guilds functioning together as one against one system. That's no different than if Pirate Software did the exact same thing on Lyneth. Like they're very functionally the same. And so what I'm trying to tell you guys is moving away from Pirate Software's guild. I understand it from a political aspect. I understand wanting to move away because you want to have different interactions. I totally get that perspective. That's a conversation we're having as well. We want to have those different types of interactions. But large groups of players working together is also a part of this game. And whether they're actual pirates or they're, meat enjoyers and Bandits 7 and all these other guilds. I don't know why I said meat enjoyers. I just wanted a reaction from you guys. Whether they have the same or not, doesn't have the same name or not, it doesn't matter. Is my point. It's still the same ethos, it's still the same guidelines. And if you're policing a server with a large amount of players, you're functioning no different, is my point. And so I think that's the way the game's going to go for now. I think on a lot of servers, I think you're going to see a lot of the same things. I think you're going to see a lot of the same things until these systems come online, until you see a node siege or a node war come online, and that's going to change politics drastically. If mayoral elections can have this type of ripple, a small ripple on a server, what's a node war going to do? If you've been bored now with what the political drama on your server's been, things are changing. Systems are coming online. The ability for players to interact with these systems are going to drastically change politics on each and every server. And so that's all I'm trying to say. We'll have to see how everything shakes out at that point. But yeah, with the current state of the game, with current functionality, it makes sense that guilds are working together. There's no risk there. There's no risk. But the risk is coming. So I'm going to leave that for you here. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's be peaceful. Let's be cordial. I'm not attempting to talk shit about other guilds. I'm just trying to highlight my objectivity from looking at things from the outside in. I hope I accomplished that. I hope I attempted to paint the pirate software side, like putting myself in their shoes. Same thing with like the narc side, the same thing with other players. It's just looking at the overall picture and talking about it objectively. So let's leave the name calling and stuff out of it. Let's just kind of talk about what's going on. Want to hear your comments in the comment section below. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.